All right, so for EGR 190, we are the phone stand group, and our job was to make laser printed phone stands made out of acrylic, which would then be bent, and then phone stands from 3D printing. So to start, we made just some brief sketches. I'll come and show. This is the laser print sketch paper, in which we show the side view, the front view, the top view, and the back view. And basically what we did was just show where the finger joints would be, and the length, the width, and the height of the stand, just so that we can get some dimensions to then put in the software, which we have here. So once we got this primitive stand kind of flushed out, we moved on to the software. So for the laser printed phone stands, we used Adobe Illustrator. So with some brief tutorials, figured out how to actually work this. And here we have the laser printed phone stand. You can bring it up close just so that you can see it in the camera. This is the design of the 1/8 of an inch wood phone stand. And you can see our names are right up here, and here are the finger joints. For the finger joints, what we did was we used the Make a Box program to give regular box dimensions, and then once we took those box dimensions, we can take one side of that box and use it for the finger joints to prop up the back of the stand. So we used this and then basically took it apart and just used the finger joints that it created, just so that we didn't have to individually go through line by line creating each of the finger joints. But once we did that, you can see our Illustrator file is just a deconstructed view of what our drawings were. So if you can see in our drawings, we have right here this kind of wedge to hold up this plane, and then these notches to hold up the actual phone, and leave a hole for the charger. And then in the Illustrator file, we have the same thing. We have this, which is going to be flat, this is flat, and this is flat, because the laser printer can only do flat surfaces, and then we'll piece it together afterwards. So that's what we did. And we went to the collab and used 1/5 of an inch wood, because that's what they had. And you can see this is the actual final print. So here we have the phone stand in all of its glory. And you can still take it apart. So the finger joints here, just to show you, are exactly what we had in the file. You can see it's 1/5 of an inch wood with these joints that would fit in perfectly with these holes right here. And it would just kind of slide in there to make it stand up here. And then we had these little notches just to hold up the phone, so that we can actually put the phone on the stand, like you can see here, and it would actually hold up with a charging hole. So that worked pretty well. And then afterwards, we created another one with 1/8 of an inch wood, just so that we can kind of have two models. And again, we have that hole in the middle for the charger, and use the same Illustrator file, just change it up to accommodate for the 1/8 of an inch wood. And moving on from there, we have our acrylic design, which you can see the sketches here is what we started off with. Very simple. We just used a rectangle and then laser cut our names into it and cut out that piece, and then used the Illustrator file and the acrylic bender to then shape it. So we have the file right here, just a long rectangle with our names etched into it, and then from there we just laser printed it and then brought it back to the pod, where we then bent it with the acrylic bender into a shape that looks like this, with our names etched in. I don't know if you can see that. Here. There we go. You can see the names are there. And we have it bent into our phones. You can see there's a phone on it, and it stands up. And so that is our laser cut design and our acrylic design.
So my name is Matt Rose, and I'm the other half of this project working on phone stands. So this video is going to be talking about the 3D printed versions. So to start, we had this first sketch for our design, this top one here. So you can see like the front, back, top, and side views. From there, we kind of got to know like the create functions a little better. So as you can see, we started with a cylindrical design at the bottom, and then had a plane up against it, and then a circle on the bottom. And then we kind of extruded those. We gave a slant to the plane so that the phone could rest against it. And on the back, we put our names. And so we 3D printed it, and we got this model. And there's also a small hole for the charger. But we came up with a couple problems that we found. So first of all, this hole, putting the charger through it and putting the phone on it is a little inconvenient. It also is kind of hard. This cylinder kind of obscures the bottom part of the phone, so that's not ideal. And we decided that there could be a better design, and a more convenient design. So we went back and we created this sketch on the bottom with more of a curved design that could expose more of the phone, make it more convenient. And then, rather than using the create function, we tried to use more of a sketch design. So as you can see here, we started by just making a straight line and then kind of a swoosh down and another line down for our sketch. And then from there, we just extruded it in the Y direction, so then to give it a width. And from there, we got this model here, which also we gave it a little hole again for the charger. And if you can see it here, it's a lot more convenient. You can see the phone a lot more clearly with this design. And so we decided that was more appropriate for this project. And so we kind of learned from our mistakes, and we also got exposed to both the create and the sketch function in Fusion 360.
All right, so looking at all of our phone stand designs, we can definitely see some have certain pros and cons for sure. We can see with the phone stands, the Illustrator files are very complicated and took a long time to actually create. Just drawing each and every one of these finger joints and making them exactly 1/8 inch and putting all of those measurements in takes a long time. So it's a little tedious in that regard. But at the end of the day, our phone stands do look nice. They have a nice like wooden aesthetic. However, they do jiggle a little bit. If you push too hard, it definitely can't withstand too much force, considering this wood is only 1/8 of an inch thick, or 1/5 of an inch, depending on the wood you use in the collab.
For the 3D printed designs, I found that Fusion 360 is kind of easy to learn but hard to master. So if you want a more simple design, it's probably not as taxing as using Adobe Illustrator and laser cutting. But the more complex you get, obviously it'll be more time consuming, and it's kind of what you make of it.
Yeah, and if you want something that is more sturdy, definitely 3D printing is the way to go. If you want something that looks wooden or something that looks a little bit nicer, you don't have a lot of color options for the 3D printers is one thing, whereas the wood might look a little bit nicer. Looking at the acrylic, which actually, fun fact, we recorded all these videos using the phone stands, but if you look at the acrylic, which is behind, that's also kind of slick looking as well, and it was much easier to make considering we just had to use the acrylic bender, bend it, 3 times, just not difficult to create, and looks pretty nice as well. Didn't take a long time. So overall, I mean, the acrylic was easy to use. The other two, not so much, but just depending on what you care about in looks, usually you just decide on that. And then that's about it. So this is Matthew Jaynes, and this is
Matthew Rose.
and that is our phone stand video for Engineering 190.